Okay, so what I'm going to cover in this video is our Core 6 shapes and then also our Core 6 Plus shapes. And what we will start with is what's referred to as a hollow body shape. So we're going to find that by going into our posterior pelvic tilt, flattening out that low back onto the floor. And then we're going to protract the scapula, flex the thoracic spine to get into this nice disc shape here, okay? If you do feel that low back come off of the floor, or we go into that anterior tilt, it takes the tension off of the abs and the hip flexors, and it's going to put a little bit of that on the low back. So we really need to make sure that we're maintaining that pelvic tilt, that posterior tilt, to keep the tension on the abs, the hip flexors, and this anterior chain, okay? And what I also like to do is cycle the arms through position. So this would be our top support or our inverted hang. This would be our planche, our front lever, our plank. And then this would be our hang and our handstand, okay? So that's our hollow body shape. You can make that easier by tucking the legs in, but you do want to get used to having nice straight legs there. We then flip over to hit the exact opposite shape for balance. We're not going to spend as much time in this as you would doing actual gymnastics because we're more so focusing on the slow strength elements. We don't do a whole lot of swinging or dynamic movements, but it is good to balance out that shape with this Superman. And now I think most people, when they do these, if you've done them in some type of strength class or in the gym, you'll see this a lot. You'll also see this a lot. But for that gymnastics shape, we're looking to get as long as possible, and then we're going to worry about peeling up off of the ground, okay? So we're always focusing on shrugging up the shoulders, covering the ears, and then the height will come from there. So now we're looking to contract the posterior chain to peel that anterior chain off of the ground. So nice balance to that hollow body shape, and we just hold this here, okay? You don't want the arms out too far because this doesn't have any carryover to the bar or swinging skills. We need those arms in nice and close, nice and narrow. So that's our arch shape. And then we'll move on to our planks. So with the first plank, we can do fingers out to the side, which would have more carryover into our planche leans. But to start, you can always do fingers forward, and this would be more of our press handstand. And we're just going to try to find that same hollow body positioning that we had on the ground when we were resting on our back, but now we're up on our hands, okay? So tops of the feet, locked leg, posterior pelvic tilt, flexing the spine, protracting the scapula, and just holding here. Okay, so that's our plank. We then flip it over, again, all about balancing out these shapes, and we're gonna do a reverse plank. So with this, we start fingers out to the side. Eventually you want to work fingers back because this will start to lay the foundation for our mana training, okay? So we start this one, nice table position, trying to retract the shoulder blades now, squeezing the hips through, straighten out the legs, boom, holding this shape here. And then the fifth and sixth shape are technically the same thing, but it's one on each side. So just a nice side plank. We're going to be up on the hand. And now whatever side we're doing, that leg is going to be in a straight line with our hand, okay? So we're here, right hand, right foot, all in line. And what we can do to make this easier is move this left leg up. The more stacked we get, the harder this becomes. Don't let this shoulder collapse. Push the ground away, bridge the hips through, boom. Okay, this would be our right side plank. We then rotate other side, boom. Left side plank, okay? And when we first start these, I would say 15-second holds would be that bare minimum. And you want to try to build up to 60-second holds in each of those shapes. And then once we get there, we can then start doing the Core 6 Plus. where again, we start with this hollow body. But now what we can do is add some type of dynamic rocking into the mix, okay? And now this position is less forgiving on that low back. So if you do lose that posterior pelvic tilt, you're not going to be able to rock efficiently, okay? So if we do any sort of tumbling, or if you have done tumbling, you'll know that we need a nice round flexed spine and that posterior pelvic tilt the whole time. And then we can just do rocks, and again, I would do these for time. So we would start back down, 15 seconds, build all the way up to 60 seconds on both of these rock positions. Here, we get nice and long. Again, not worried about the height of the rock. We're staying long, and then rocking from there. Okay? And now for the planks, what we would do, exact same thing, but now we'll elevate the feet to shift that mass and that center of gravity up higher. And again, we can make this more so like our planche, fingers to the side, here, boom, okay? So this would be our plank plus, boom, nice and protracted with the scap. Further we lean forward, harder that becomes. Same thing with the reverse plank. Start fingers out to the side, eventually want fingers back for carry over to that mono, okay? Boom. Locking in that reverse plank. And then hitting that elevated plank, same exact thing. Right hand, right leg in line. And keep this leg down to start, and then open up this base of support. Nice triangle, and then boom. Once we're stacked, much harder, okay? Locking it in, rotate, lock it in, same thing other way, okay? What you'll also have to play around with is what you do this on in terms of the low back. So I love doing it on this mat for the low back and for the stomach on the rocks. Not crazy about doing it with the hands because it's not as stable of a surface as the floor. So if I was to do these on the floor, much easier to feel for the corrections in the hand if I'm on a hard, stable surface rather than being on this unstable one. But this is a bit easier on the wrist, so you will have to play around with that. And for those core 6+ shapes, same sequencing. You start bare minimum 15 seconds. Once we get up to 60 seconds, should have that nice ingrained hollow body shape. Same thing with your planks. Boom, to the side, and then same thing for that arch shape. And once you've mastered the core 6+, we can start to move away from these. You don't have to do them every workout. And by the time we do get to 60 seconds with the core 6+, you'll probably be working things like front lever and planche on their own. So we will be getting some of this shape conditioning with our strength work. But to start, very important that we hammer home and learn these gymnastic positions, okay? So that's core 6 and core 6+.